Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show, Thursday, March 12th, 2026. We're 3 days into free agency, which of course means we're on phase 8 of free agency. All the good players have been gone since 1 p.m. Eastern on Monday. A lot of good ones signed the past few days. Some we weren't able to talk about on Tuesday. We're going to talk about today. Do those good players include Daniel Jones? That's where we're going to lead the show. 88 mil. Cool, 88 mil for Duke Daniel. Can't say I agree, but we'll weigh in there. We'll weigh in on Tyler Allgeier ending up in the desert. We thought he'd have the backfield maybe to himself. Instead, James Conner retained at a discount rate. Kenneth Gainwell in the Rachaad White role, quote unquote, for Tampa Bay. Sean Tucker maybe in returning to the Bucs, a.k.a. couldn't be more over for Bucky Irving. That's fine. That's fine. You know what? Don't even care. Still never even cared. Never cared about C-Rod or Bashal Tootin. They're now teammates. He's in Jacksonville. We parsed the post-Travis Etienne landscape. J.K. Dobbins back in Denver. Keaton Mitchell for some reason.
Come on.
Show sheet by Denny. Isiah Pacheco, Isaiah Likely, Chig Okonkwo, on and on and on. So many names. Hopefully we can get to all of them, but we would be remiss if we did not begin the show with the news of the week. Everyone and their mothers, my mother, who hasn't texted me about the NFL literally ever, texting me about what the Baltimore Ravens did to Maxx Crosby, how untoward, how unseemly it is. Dvorchak, Kyle and I in total agreement with the entire world. I'm sure Denny is too. Denny, just how bad was what the Baltimore Ravens did to Maxx Crosby?
It's so bad that I don't get it. I hear, lots of people I respect. I'm reading, I'm watching, I'm listening. Okay. I'm learning about this Maxx Crosby situation. And nothing anyone has said makes me feel anger toward the Ravens. Well, tell me honestly, what did the Ravens do wrong in this?
I don't know if Denny's doing a bit or not. I truly can't tell. So you see, Denny, sometimes when people agree to do something for each other, it is generally conceived of that they both hold up that end of their bargain. So maybe old-fashioned way, my father, I would assume you guys are a little bit older than me, would call it being a man of your word.
Yes.
They agreed to 4 or 5 days ago at this point trade for Maxx Crosby. And then look, this is only alleged, although every national reporter is dropping their own breadcrumbs, kind of blaming the Ravens for this. But we'll say this is alleged. They then get the Trey Hendrickson asking price to come down after agreeing to the terms of the Maxx Crosby trade. Mm-hmm. They then back out of said Maxx Crosby trade because they now decided they want to go with Trey Hendrickson. I know there have been the GM, Eric DaCosta, said, well, we actually wanted to pair Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. And the first report related to that was that Maxx Crosby was supposed to get a new deal from this that would have made it nigh impossible to fit both of those players under the cap. So that, not saying that's a lie, but there is some counter story to that part as well. So I don't know. I find
it's called your word. Ever heard of it? We found a man where a handshake means absolutely nothing to him.
Well,
honor, norms in America. We used to be such a stodgy, buttoned-up country, but you could take a person at their word. As norms have fallen by the wayside, as people now wear pajamas on airplanes, the standards are just now non-existent in this country, and they include the verbal agreement. It means absolutely nothing. It says one thing today, does another thing tomorrow. Craig Dennis Carter, an immoral, some are saying evil man.
Yeah, good luck with the pajama take, by the way. It's going to be real popular on the internet. Here's the thing, though. If Crosby has a serious long-term injury, which he was hiding last year,
except for not from the Baltimore Ravens, who I don't think it was exactly. That's what I find most absurd about the entire thing. We didn't know that he might not pass a physical. We had no idea that he had the most public surgery of all time.
Hear me out. So the whole thing with Crosby was weird last year because he was saying, I'm not hurt. I'm not even a little bit hurt. And the Raiders were like, you're so hurt that you're not going to play. Now, I know that there was a tanking situation going on.
Yeah, it was most obvious. He literally nothing changed in his health status. He had been playing through the injury for weeks upon end.
And then the Ravens evaluate him. Diana Rossini of The Athletic reports that short term, he should be fine. long
love
term.
the excuse, by the way. Oh no, you won't actually be able to prove us wrong anytime soon. But on the right time scale of the universe, we actually are right. They're already laying the seeds for Crosby. We know he's going to play all year. He's a great football player. But give us 10, 15, potentially 20 years, and we'll all look back on this and be right. They've already laid the seeds for us not being able to prove them wrong anytime soon.
Denny, a man without honor or humility.
I'm just, look, as a longtime Ravens fan, I'm kidding. I'm not. I just don't really, teams back out of deals when they say, oh man, this guy's knee's really messed up. It happens.
Also, this is from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. He's quote tweeting directly, like a screenshot with quotes from the Eric DaCosta conference. The timing is the toughest part. Teams agreed to the terms on Friday. The physical didn't occur till Tuesday. Some teams I've talked to in the aftermath say they fly their player to get that physical the day the trade happens. But the Ravens like, we'll just give him 4 or 5 days to simmer on it. Then we'll bring him out. As if like that's, per Fowler, other teams are not operating in this capacity. The Ravens backed out at a timeline that is not consistent with when other teams would have chosen to back out of the same type of deal.
The only thing I will slightly agree with Denny is it highlights the complete absurdity of the quote unquote legal tampering period. And so the whole point is these deals are not binding until Wednesday afternoon, but everyone in the entire league, everyone in the entire media apparatus treats them as binding because 99% of the time they are binding. And it's almost like binding free agency. So just start Monday at noon Eastern instead of doing away with this whole like fake nether region of free agency.
Yeah.
Like truly, like, what is the point of this structure for NFL free agency? You understand? It's exactly like for real free agency, except it's fake. And except for 99% of the deals are real, except for this 1% and then makes everyone super mad. Like just the NFL has like hydrogen bombed this. Like there's no way to diffuse this. Like we cannot fix this situation. So it's kind of like just have normal free agency like every other league in the history of sports. And
also, look, I think Maxx Crosby is going to be fine financially.
He will be. He will be.
I believe it's in Yellowstone National Park. There's a weird jurisdiction.
Super volcano.
No, there's a weird legal gray area where I think it's that like you would not be able to get a jury of your peers in this very specific sliver of Yellowstone Park. So the idea is that you could never, like legal theorists would say like, well, you could never be found guilty for any crime in this area because you could not, there is a jurisdiction where there are no people to decide that you are guilty, which the NFL has then said first 3 days of free agency take place in that area of Yellowstone National Park.
That's actually a really great point and almost certainly why they do it. Around here, it's called Bloody Island. It's an island in the middle of the Mississippi River.
There you go.
Abraham Lincoln was once challenged to a duel there. He did not follow through. By the way, Denny, would you ever wear shorts on an airplane? Don't answer that question. Would you ever give Daniel Jones $88 million, $50 million for one season of football? The Colts they're running it back. No one can accuse them of not running it back. What I don't understand is what they're running back. Denny, what are the Indianapolis Colts running? Were they 8-1, 8-2 last year? And then the counterfactual on the Colts 2025 season is you don't understand if Daniel Jones had just stayed healthy. Because even before he popped his Achilles, he was not healthy. He was playing through, I think, a broken foot.
Broken leg.
The counterfactual is like, if he had just stayed healthy, man, he doesn't stay healthy. That's the thing. That you can't counterfactual the folks. I'm serious. I'm not messing around. Literally. He does not stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. I don't get it. I think they should have just pulled the ripcord and moved on to their next mediocre quarterback solution, Denny Carter. But I don't know. Do we like the move for fantasy? It's a condensed Indianapolis skill core with Michael Pittman Jr. now a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Riley Leonard was right there, guys. He was right there waiting for that starting job, and he'll never get it. Okay. Yes. So he requests $50 million a year, and we all said, that'll never happen. And then
I know Albert Breer laundered the report for Sports, and I think I literally laughed. And it happened. And look, hey, I'm happy for the generations of Joneses who will never have to work a day in their lives. You got at least 8 generations of Daniel Jones family members who will be fabulously wealthy, generationally wealthy. Way to go on fooling another team into paying you. That works. Here I have stats from before the leg injury. Remember, he's playing with a shattered leg, and then he tore his Achilles. So
to be clear,
hard to believe someone playing on a broken leg could result in an even more serious injury.
Because I pointed out online the other day that he was not good over his final 5 games, and said, well, he's playing on a broken leg. So okay, we'll throw that out. All right, so he was 12th. This is before the injury. 12th in completion rate over expected, 8th in adjusted yards per attempt. He was only sacked on 5.5% of his dropbacks. That was
the most fake stat of the entire year.
That was let me finish. I have a couple more. That was the 12th lowest. He only checked down on 7% of his passes. That was the 11th lowest. And so here's the scam, though, guys. Okay, so Shane Steichen knows what he's doing. I like Shane Steichen. I think he's a good coach and a good quarterback guy, right?
He is.
So here's the scam. 77% of Daniel Jones' pass attempts last year were first read targets. That was the highest in the league. So the play was designed to do something. And Shane Steichen, yeah, I mean, it's the modern NFL where it's like, you're not good. I know what I'm doing. So you're going to run this play and do it exactly as I say. And that's all there is to it.
Steichen basically putting on a Danny Dimes VR headset.
Yeah, that's it. And so I think that can work. I think that can make them interesting. Now, the problem is, when will he be back? The Achilles thing happened in December.
Well, the money suggests week 1.
Oh,
the money suggests week
okay.
1.
Okay, yeah, sure. They'll rush him back week 1.
They will.
Is that going to go well?
This is the team that has lured Phillip Rivers out of retirement.
We are going to hear a report saying they have to operate from shotgun because Daniel Jones can't backpedal. We're going to hear that report.
That is
okay.
True, actually.
He's going to re-injure himself. He's not going to be the same until really, I think you're looking at 2027 is when he'll be.
He's a guy who just came back from a torn ACL. Also, like, the whole thing is so insane. It's actually rather staggering. They could have just done the Kirk Cousins thing. Maybe they could have gotten in the ring for Kyler Murray, Kyle. But in best ball, like, does this affect the way you're drafting Tyler Warren? Affect the way you're maybe drafting Josh Downs, Alec Pierce? Did this not have any effect on those ADPs? How does the return of Daniel Jones factor into the game you very sick people play called best ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was always extremely likely to return because this is the first situation in which they've brought out, I would say, the best in him. Frankly, they've brought out more than you would ever expect from a guy like Daniel Jones, given his previous body of work.
The first time since the last time where he got the New York Giants to give him 660.
He was way better this past year than with the Giants. That Giants one was even way more scammy, where they were getting by the skin of their teeth. Daniel Jones, at least the way he was playing, how much of that credit goes to the situation, the coaching staff? Obviously, it's like the same situation we've had with Purdy and Sam Darnold and a lot of the modern NFL quarterbacks. It's tough to say where you split up the pie for that. But they weren't getting away with Daniel Jones and they were masking bad play. They were bringing out extremely good play. Before he suffered the fractured fibula, insane to try and plan a fractured fibula, by the way. Before he suffered that fractured fibula, he was the #1 quarterback in EPA per play. Even if you include the stretch of 5 pretty bad games that he finished out the year on, he still finished the year as QB6 in EPA per play. I think he was the number 12 quarterback in points per game before going down. They were legitimately running away with the AFC South before he got hurt. And is he injury prone? Probably. I think, my contention with injury prone isn't that it doesn't exist, is that so much of our analysis gets based on something that is so extremely random that only has a kernel of truth. I do believe there's a kernel of truth that all else being equal, which quarterback's more likely to play 17 games, Daniel Jones or like Josh Allen or whatever. It's obviously my pick is going to be Josh Allen, right? But I don't think the fact that he's played like 2, I think, healthy seasons basically his entire career means that you would expect him to only ever complete 2 of like 8 seasons or whatever his rate is right now. I still think his injury rate is probably only slightly worse than league average. I think the big question here is what form does he come back to? Because if by week 8 he looks like he did in week 8 last year, right before the fall off started to happen, this is a really good deal. What were their other options? I mean, it doesn't seem like there was any. Well, there was reports that there was not really mutual interest there.
Give me fair.
Yeah. Malik Willis, like I don't really see that
Riley
one.
Leonard.
The injury rate,
Wow.
that's fluky. The touchdown rate, he's gonna be 29 years old. He's played 7 years in the NFL. Has a career touchdown percentage of 3.4.
Good.
The last time he threw for 24 touchdowns was before the COVID-19 global pandemic.
He does have a pretty high clip of rushing. He was on pace for a really good rushing season last year as well.
He only runs because he can't throw.
I mean, by EPA, like again, I don't think he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Thankfully, there's nothing at all that has us worried about his athleticism.
No, that's the big issue. I think. I will, Pat, to your point though, this type of contract, I mean, upwards of $50 million a year if he cashes all the checks, suggests that they think he'll come back and soon enough be Daniel Jones.
It's going to be a complete catastrophe. I'll give Daniel the final word though.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Achilles thing for me, if I'm the Colts, the Achilles thing just undercuts everything. And I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to go find somebody else. Like Daniel Jones is not going to be ready for week 1. He might be in uniform and under center, but he won't be ready.
That's a pretty good distinction, and someone who the health reports will be following extremely closely all offseason. Tyler Allgeier, Denny's favorite player on God's green earth in the National Football League. Hashtag better than Bijan. Denny's getting that put on his tombstone, apparently. Hopefully it's a long time from now. Just Tyler Allgeier, I originally framed it. Does he have secret weapon fantasy potential with the Arizona Cardinals? Because he was one of like the secret weapons, secret options of free agency. He was scooped up by the Cardinals in the opening hours of the legal tampering period, like a really aggressive, really tactical signing that they made, Denny. But then they kept James Conner, which we were not expecting. It's on a really minimal salary, only $3 million, about half what Tyler Allgeier will be making this year. But even though it's a new coaching staff, every coaching staff falls in love with James Conner. Just Conner staying undercut like any RB2 sleeper potential we were going to get with Tyler Allgeier, because it's going to be a bad team. Probably not going to be many run-based game plans because they're going to be playing from behind, just like last year. He doesn't catch passes. Any RB2 dreaming going on for Tyler Allgeier in the desert.
I think things would have to break just right. I think James Conner would have to miss time. I think Allgeier would have to stay super healthy. I think he would need to see most or all of the goal line work, which, it could happen. I mean, he's a big body back. Remember, folks forget, he was a converted linebacker.
Hashtag people forget.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't forget. He very much looks like that when he's running.
He's a big boy. And so like a ridiculous number of touchdowns in the red zone could help his case to get
ridiculous number of Arizona Cardinals.
I know. No. I know. So like he goes to like a garbage team that's not going to have a quarterback. I don't know what to make of it. He was only targeted on 14% of his routes over his whole career in Atlanta. He wasn't that efficient as a pass catcher, had like one spiked year, but that was it. And by the way, the whole Allgeier better than Bijan thing, that's what I get for reading into player usage as a measurement of player talent. It's a dumb thing to do. For the young folks breaking into the football analysis industry, don't do that.
Don't do what Denny did. I mean, Kyle, best ball bags. What percentage of your teams will have Tyler Allgeier? And it's just so hard to get excited. And the situation he was landing in Arizona, he basically needed the backfield to himself, or he needed someone where it was very clear this player is a third down back. This player will catch passes. James Conner is the kind of guy who can be competition on every down, every game situation, where it would have been fine splitting the backfield. He's splitting the backfield, though, with a jack of all trades. Does that have you off of him in best ball?
Yeah, I truly don't get what the sales pitch for him would be, other than he's a decent bet for like 180 of the most pointless touches you'll see this year, because like Denny said, he would have to secure, he'd need like 120% of the goal line carries to have a meaningful role at the goal line, because we just don't expect this team to get there very often. They are apparently pot committed to Jacoby Brissett as a 17-game starter.
I do not see the problem.
I love it, first of all, but also it's bad.
I just don't get it. I mean, to be fair, actually, we're in the middle, Denny and I are in the middle of writing up the free agency grades, and I'm not giving them the worst grade on the planet, because they're just like, yep, we're sucking for 2026.
It's kind of what would you have done if you were the Arizona Cardinals?
I said that too. I think I said exactly that. I was like, I'm not really sure what they were supposed to do, was what I wrote. And I'm not sure there was much they could do. The Allgeier signing is a little weird in that like short-term plotter back. I'm not really sure what he brings to the team, but you got to spend your money somewhere. There is like quite literally a rolling cap floor. So no, I'm not really going to have a lot of him for the aforementioned reasons. Doesn't catch passes. Even if he sees all the goal line work, that won't be a lot of goal line work. And it's not like he's a great back from 1st and 10 at 50, right? Where he can make up for a lack of goal line work by explosiveness. That's not his game either. So I just don't really see like any notable selling point here.
Honey, you don't understand, they won't let us in the door unless we spend at least 20 on alcohol. All right.
I've never thought about it that way.
We get kicked out if we don't buy at least 2 drinks. 2, I guess, in this economy, 1 drink. That's neither here nor there. Kenneth Gainwell, 1,000 yards from scrimmage last year, Kyle. We've been saying it so much that I don't think we can really say quietly anymore. I feel like somehow you and I, every 10 minutes, have shoehorned in that detail on the show, even though we don't care about Kenneth Gainwell at all. Like,
it still shocks me, though. I care about it in how shocking it is.
I do care about it and how shocking it is. A little shocking to me that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the ones to sign him. All this time, it's like, just wait till we get Rachaad White out of Tampa. Then it's Bucky Irving season for real. And instead, they replaced him with a shot-for-shot remake of Rachaad White, except for maybe better.
Maybe.
Gainwell. So I did originally ask, is this good or bad for Bucky's bounce-back odds? It's bad. Even worse would be, it appeared they were letting Sean Tucker depart. Now that I think they have the right of first refusal on him again, after giving him kind of an obscure tender. Things are not shaping up well for Bucky Irving. What would you put the odds of a fantasy bounce back for the young man in 2026?
I mean, I still think in theory, and maybe in practice it doesn't unfolding this way, in theory, extremely talented as far as what we saw in his rookie season. During the regular season, I think he averaged like over 4 yards after contact per carry. That's something that on a sample of 200 carries, we've only really ever seen guys like Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry do. Those guys did it with 300 plus, so he definitely doesn't have that volume efficiency combo. But it was one of the best efficiency seasons we've seen in a long time, and he did it while being a far better pass catcher than guys like of that ilk, the 4+ yards after contact. It was Nick Chubb, it was Derrick Henry, and that's about it. Those guys didn't catch passes. So if he can be as efficient as players like that on fewer carries, but then supplement the difference in carries in receptions, like high-value PPR receptions, that's what like a top 5 fantasy back looks like. I think if he just is that good as a talent, as far as like we can measure talent, it shouldn't be that hard for him to blow away from Kenneth Gainwell. On the other hand, he was just objectively really, really bad last year. And squaring those two things is extremely difficult to do, especially in the context of Bucs offense 2 years ago, really good. Bucs offense last year for about 2/3 of the year, just a disaster. So the truth is possibly somewhere in the middle. I generally lean towards if you look great, you at least have greatness potential within you. Like not a lot of guys can even do that in good circumstances.
True.
On the other hand, I do think the Bucs are making it very clear that they don't believe they're guaranteed the Bucky Irving bounce back.
And Denny, is it just too uncharitable to say, I said earlier, coaches trust James Conner. We know coaches trust Kenneth Gainwell. He's always been a favorite wherever he ends up. And I just feel like maybe they don't trust Bucky Irving after last year. We never got a full explanation for why Bucky missed all that time. But basically the Bucs coaching staff opened it up to interpretation. And they welcomed people to read between the lines that, there was something maybe the team and the player did not see eye to eye on. And I just feel like they probably kind of lost trust in Bucky Irving. And now they've signed a very high trust player in Kenneth Gainwell.
That's a great way of putting it. Low trust and high trust. There were some weird reports last October, I think, where people, I can't tell you what I'm hearing from Bucs camp, but it's not good for Bucky Irving. And
to be clear, we do not know.
No, we don't know.
You could guess, but we do not.
It was the kind of report where you're hoping that he's okay, outside of the game. But I do want to point out that as a pass catcher last year, Bucky Irving, limited sample, but he was pretty good. On 33 targets in 2025. Bucky Irving led the league in yards after the catch per reception among running backs. And he was top 8.
And they just drafted him.
He was top 8 in yards per route run among running backs. I think he can have that role if they want him to. If he's able to I don't know, get 30 or 40% of the pass catching role, something like that, maybe that's a little greedy. But if he is, he can cook with that. I do believe that he's a very talented back.
If my court-ordered conservator allowed me to still draft Bucky Irving, I would after Denny's spiel. But
just for fantasy purposes, and we're a long way from all that.
For those of us not on Bucky Irving probation,
right? From prison, you can do this in your drafts. You can say,
"Wow."
You can take advantage of maybe people being burned by him last year, including myself, including Pat, of course. I'm
in there too, buddy. Don't worry, I'm in there.
Okay, Kyle too. I wasn't sure. And saying, okay, well, I'm not doing that again. And he drops a little more than you think. He becomes something of a value. Then I'd be interested. We took him at a pretty high price last year, if I remember correctly.
Pat, do you remember that? Do you remember taking him at a high price? Denny doesn't remember correctly. Do you?
No, and the prison Wi-Fi will let me open Yahoo, but it won't let me open Yahoo Sports. And Really hoping this changes that. Look at Bucky in 2026.
You do what you can.
You do what you can. We'll do what we can when we come right back after this. You know who always does what he can is Rory McIlroy. He makes it interesting. Can he make it back-to-back wins at the Players? Or was Scotty Scheffler, the inevitable Scotty Scheffler, reign supreme for the third time in the last 4 tournaments at TPC Sawgrass? The answers to those questions and more this weekend on NBC and Peacock. Tried to get fancy, tried to freelance the promo read, and paid.
You should never do that.
Rory already +2 through 5.
Yeah, look, Rory comes in with a bad back.
He won a major once, and he's just like, I'm good. He died happy.
You stop it. Stop.
He died. He let his career die happy.
This is
won once.
This craziness. No, look. First of all, he works out too much. I'm just Rory. If you're listening, you got to stop with the working out. Like just go play golf. You don't need to be so jacked. It's too much. But
it is too much, especially at his advancing age. He should have probably less muscle.
He has a bad back. Every swing today, I was wincing for him because he doesn't look right.
Well, Denny watching on Peacock, NBC, maybe Golf Network. We were watching in horror as Chris Rodriguez landed in the Jaguars' backfield. We thought we would get bailed out of our Bashal Tootin bags. Bashal, thankfully, wasn't really of the going to prison variety bust last year. He still was a very painful bust.
It was just petty theft. He was too cheap to actually really swindle us. It was just like, I got swindled out of $500. They just fine you for that. They don't even take you to prison.
Then he got put in the IKEA jail for drafting a Bashal Tootin, but they have no legal right to keep you there. He's now in the Jags backfield. He's not. Chris Rodriguez is now in the Jags backfield. Travis Etienne is gone, Denny. C-Rod season and an ascending Bucs offense. And is it totally over for Bashal Tootin? It was over at the end of last season.
Listen, our guy, and I have confirmed he is a millennial, James Gladwell, the GM of the Jags. He likes the spreadsheets, and
Gladstone, by the way, Gladstone.
He's also known as Gladstone. And
Jaguars GM Malcolm Gladwell.
My bad, Jimmy. I can call him Jimmy.
Denny said a name wrong. And then I'm going to say a bunch of other names now.
Let's just keep going with this for the next 10 minutes. So my guy Jimmy looks at the spreadsheets and he said, "Ooh, this C-Ride guy is interesting," because he popped in a lot of the nerdy metrics last year in Washington. I don't know if he's going to be a thing. I mean, he would be a thing if Tootin has injury problems again, because he sure as heck had that last year. But Rodriguez was 8th in yards after contact per rush last year, right behind. Let me squint here and see. Oh, right behind Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt. So
fairly well, Bill.
What can you do? Anyway, I like him as I don't know, 0 RB guy. That's as strong as an opinion as I can have right now.
Who scores more fantasy points, Bashal Tootin or Chris Rodriguez, Kyle?
Probably Tootin, but for the price you have to pay to get C-Rod, like I'm totally in with C-Rod too. As Andy pointed out, he was really good in all the metrics. And Tootin, it was his first year. He was banged up with various injuries all year, but C-Rod kind of dog walked him in most efficiency metrics. So for a cheap price on a team that we know is really good at extracting fantasy points from running back talent, I'm very in on C-Rod. And Tootin, I do think, was a good profile and is probably still the lead option. I don't think you let Travis Etienne walk.
Real quick, who's the other guy, by the way?
LaQuint Allen. He's their passing down specialist, but he truly is he plays just third downs for almost only pass pro. You'd rather have Tootin have those stats, but it's probably not the most valuable. He's not being designed touches.
I knew it wasn't him, but I was thinking Javorius Allen. I'm like, it's not Javorius.
Buck Allen? Oh, man, I love Buck Allen.
Buck Allen.
Buck's been out for a buck. He's been.
Can we do 5 minutes of just naming obscure running backs? Do we have time for that?
Obscure Baltimore Ravens running backs, no less. There's a lot of them out there. We'll get
Le'Veon Bell, Devonta Freeman.
We'll get to the most obscure Ravens running back ever that Denny thinks is fantasy relevant for some unknown reason.
So mad.
In just a few minutes. Rachaad White, Denny, remained fantasy relevant. He got run out of town in Tampa. For some reason, I don't know what happened there. They didn't like each other anymore. He was posting about leaving the Bucs last summer before the season even started. He did not even kidding. He did a farewell Instagram post to Tampa, then played the whole season in Tampa. He's now in the nation's capital. Agrees to deal with the Commanders per Adam Schefter. They got Bill. Don't they have some other guy? What's going on in the Commanders' backfield, Denny?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Rachaad White?
Not good. I
Does a little bit of everything, it must be said.
I was doing on the fly research here. It looks like Jaden Daniels was bottom 7 in check down rate last year, similar in his rookie year.
Do we really think he's just relegated to he's the pass catching back? Maybe this is a sign Jacory Crosby-Merritt will be given the reins on early downs.
I think so. Although, I mean, I do have vague memories of Rachaad White, like weirdly, like turning into Derrick Henry once in a while on early downs.
That might have been Sean Tucker.
No. I know it was Rachaad White because I always think of Rachaad White as a guy who goes down on contact, right? And he was like bullying through guys. I've always felt like he's a guy who, like, if he wants to play, he could be really good.
He's a little underrated for like he's very
versatile. Back. We found another one.
We did. Well, yeah, Denny's dead wrong.
I was going to say, I know that Sean Tucker has
he's had 7 20 carry games in his career. He's reached 100 yards twice.
And they're like low hundreds, right? They're like 101, 102.
His career high is 105.
I didn't mean like Derrick Henry 230-yard performances. I just meant like running through guys' faces is all I mean. But,
because he's not fast enough to get around them is probably why.
He's not good. Yeah, I mean, I could see him being either somewhat relevant if they have injury problems in the Washington backfield or not relevant at all this year.
Kyle, I'll do the same thing I did last night. I let Denny set the scene. I'll make you take a stand. Would you rather be drafting Jacory Crosby-Merritt or Rachaad White? I know we literally just got this news, but off the top of your head, who do you prefer in this Commanders backfield?
Give me Bill. I wouldn't even be shocked. I actually think he maybe pencil in for Rachaad White as like more likely to get more carries because they just paid him a lot. And it seems like Bill fell out of favor with the team down the second half of the season. But as Denny pointed out, both he and Chris Rodriguez were really efficient last year. And it just didn't seem like they knew exactly what they wanted to do with their backfield. I just don't see how, even if everything goes well, what Rachaad White is really bringing to the table. And not to be like mean, I'm sure there are other reasons he got this job. He did also play with Jaden Daniels in college. So I would guess there is some connective tissue there that isn't related to how efficient he is.
I kind of forgot. Hold on. So you're saying Rachaad White played with Jaden? Rachaad White is 27 years old.
Jaden was, I believe, a 4 or 5 year player because he got his
No, I think it was like 6. He started before the pandemic, I believe.
His first college season, I think, was the pandemic season.
Wow.
No, it was. You're right. 1 year before.
2019. So, that's what I thought. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. You're right.
Wow. Rachaad White, college teammates with Jaden Daniels. The Commanders, they'll be just fine. There's no way they won't be bad again.
Man. Yeah.
In 2026. There's no way RJ Harvey could be that big of a bust again. Kyle, I go to Kyle first this time. J.K. Dobbins back in Denver. This is a team where Denny and I think we're talking about screaming out to sign Tyler Allgeier, for instance. Like, sign a real running back. Sean Payton has gained, weirdly, no traction with his backfield the entire time he's been in Denver. Needed to try something new. Said he's doing the same thing, apparently, he did last year. It was a fine season for J.K. Dobbins, but I thought they just needed to mix it up, stir it up, take another crack at it, and they've not done that. They brought back J.K. Dobbins. What do you think of that? And how do you spin it if you're an RJ Harvey partisan, like a guy who just didn't produce last year? Is this good or bad news for RJ Harvey? And are we bearing the lead? Should it be more about J.K. Dobbins than about RJ Harvey?
As far as if this was the right move for their backfield, I kind of get it. I mean, J.K. Dobbins, we've said this about him plenty of times, right? And he's another player who I think probably more likely to get injured than the average NFL running back. I'm not going to die on the hill that there is no difference between.
He basically has Daniel Jones's injury history, but
he's got worse, man.
Yeah.
It's
very similar. I mean, they're both Achilles and ACL guys.
Yeah. So, and even for a guy like J.K. Dobbins, there's also been more minor injuries are the month stays on IR, right? That's the minor injury. We're like, oh, he escaped only one stint and it was 4 weeks on IR. But with that being said, he did play relatively well last year. He graded out as a top 20 back by Pro Football Focus. He complemented what RJ Harvey brings to the table pretty well. Seems like the team really likes him. This is a big caveat. I think it's arguably a big enough caveat that you can explain why they maybe shouldn't have gone in this direction. If he stayed healthy, it does make sense to have this 1-2 punch they worked out last year that was going fairly well until J.K. Dobbins got hurt. And to your point, I actually do think that, because of that, J.K. Dobbins deserves some flowers for this contract, this reasonable contract as well, for being, I don't want to say a top 24 fantasy back, but if he's going to get a bunch of carries and goal line work on an offense that's perfectly good at moving the ball, but doesn't want to fully lean into the passing game. So quarterback's just okay. I don't know. He's probably got top 36 is a pretty comfortable projection, J.K. Dobbins, maybe with the caveat that he always gets injured. Like that is something that has happened throughout his career. And you would expect, or at least you'd hope, for as much as they spent on RJ Harvey in the draft, you would hope he takes the next step. But I do think this one serves as like a meaningful indictment of RJ Harvey, that I think we can't just expect him to take on the goal line work or to get 250 carries. Whereas I think the difference here and with something like Bashal Tutin is the Jags just couldn't enter the season with Bashal Tutin and Quentin Allen. Like there was no, like they hadn't invested enough in Tutin, but they could enter the draft with just that and then spend very big. So I think that's the perfect middle ground is 2 years, I think 12 million. This protects Tutin from a running back in the second round, but it's also not such a barrier that he can't overcome it. I don't want to say RJ Harvey can't overcome J.K. Dobbins, but we've seen him fail to do it once. So it is a little bit concerning for me for Harvey's perspective.
Denny, I would accept either argument here. Do you agree with Kyle that this is leaning towards bad for RJ Harvey? Or do you think maybe it's good that, like J.K. Dobbins, that was probably honestly a best case J.K. Dobbins scenario last year. Plays in 10 games, gets into 5 yards per carry. He's always been an efficient guy in an offense that tends to produce efficient rushing numbers. Not some insurmountable hurdle for RJ Harvey, or do you view it the way Kyle did? Like he was good in the role and they brought him back, and it's very reasonable to expect J.K. Dobbins just to keep that exact same role. How do you view this as an RJ Harvey through the RJ Harvey lens?
It depends, I guess, on what the new offensive coordinator feels.
So we're still going to pretend that Davis Webb's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, no, he is. We talked about it. We talked about why there's reason to believe, because he could have been a head coach somewhere if they had let him go. But
I'm sure Sean Payton believes today Davis Webb will be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
More like in week 3,
right?
At 17-13 in the fourth quarter. Does he believe it?
I mean, Dobbins' usage was borderline dominant before the injury took him out. He logged 153 rushing attempts to only 50 carries for RJ Harvey. He had a much higher explosive run rate than Harvey. He functioned as the inside the 5 back primarily. What were you gonna say?
I said yikes.
Yeah.
Like you can't have J.K. Dobbins having a higher explosive run rate than you at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Dobbins was just more effective. 54% rushing success rate. Harvey's was 34% while they were both healthy. I mean, Dobbins is better. He's trusted more. Harvey saw a lot of high rate of targets per route, a lot of first read targets for a running back. So they like him in that role, and they do weird, fun stuff with him in the red zone, and that's cool. For fantasy, I don't find him all that interesting unless Dobbins is out.
So who I don't find all that interesting at all is Keaton Mitchell. But they fell for it again. True Hall of Famer. Like this time, this gadget guy. You don't understand. They're going to design the absolute sickest 4 touches per week. Mike McDaniel. Sure, it's only actually 3 touches per week, but they're going to be so sick it won't even matter.
I mean, first of all, you're right. They are going to be sick.
The thesis of the Keaton Mitchell play has always been 3 touches for 72 yards. That's what you're hoping for with Keaton Mitchell. So I didn't want to talk about it. Adam did Denny a solid. They got to be a team player. Put it on the show sheet for you. It is an interesting deal. $9.5 million, $5 million guaranteed. That is a bit surprising. Going to play with Mike McDaniel.
Interesting.
But it's also, you know why it's not interesting at all?
Why is it not interesting?
Because it's Jim Harbaugh. Like, have you played for my brother? Yeah, the answer is yes. Then report to camp immediately. And I don't know if I should view it through that lens or the Mike McDaniel lens. Denny Carter, why are you interested in Keaton Mitchell ending up in LA?
Let me ask you a question. Do you like Devon Achane?
Please stop.
On your team.
I just totally reject the frame. This I'm in court. I'm like, I won't even engage in the questioning.
Let me ask you another question while you're on the stand. Did you enjoy having Jamal Charles on your fantasy team? I did.
Out of order. This is out of
I love this. I'm having so much
objection. Can a witness object?
So, do I want Jamal Charles on my team? I do. And so that's why I'm going to be drafting Keaton Mitchell a lot this year. I have some stats. If you can just let me finish.
This is the judge is letting people file out of the courtroom. Like, you don't need to hear this part. This has nothing to do with the trial.
No, legally you have to listen to this. Okay, he has he has an injury history a mile long, so we know that going in. Keaton Mitchell was 11th last season in yards after contact per carry in 2023 before his most recent catastrophic knee injury. He led the NFL in yards after contact per carry. In college, he was insanely productive, 179 carries in his final season at Eastern Carolina, 7.8 yards per carry. PFF, you may have heard of them, graded him as the nation's third best rusher behind Blake Corum and Bijan Robinson. I've heard of those guys. Mike McDaniel, here's the difference between Mike McDaniel and other OCs. He likes good players. And Keaton Mitchell's a good player. Now, am I saying 27 touches for Keaton Mitchell per week? No, he would break records. We're not doing that. Okay. But am I saying 10? 10 really?
10? No, stop. Kyle, rein him in. No coaching staff is giving Keaton Mitchell 10 touches per week. Rein him in.
Yeah. I will just take the centrist leaning Denny position on this take, because Denny scoffed at the idea that he was a gadget player, whereas the reason John Harbaugh kept healthy scratching him, it was either last year or 2 years, I forget which year, was that he said, like, you can't have a player who just only does, he called them designer plays. Those are his words. Wow. That is peak gadget player stuff. On the other hand, at NFL_researcher on Twitter, I saw this because Matthew Berry retweeted it. Very glad this came across my timeline. Most carries reaching 20 plus miles an hour in 2025. Keaton Mitchell, number 1 with 7.
Totally irrelevant stat.
It's not.
I didn't see that from Matthew, by the way. I saw it from somewhere else. The first thing I thought, totally irrelevant.
No, it's not.
I don't know why.
Totally. Oh, wow. He's fast when he gets in a wide open field. He's fast. That happens all the time in the NFL.
Wait. Listen.
It doesn't. He does it more than anyone else is the point. That's the point.
You're mistaking receivers for running back. It doesn't matter if a receiver's fast, okay? It does matter if a running back is so fast that no one catches him in the open field. Look, I was grinding Keaton Mitchell tape today, and by that I mean looking at 2023 YouTube highlights. Wow. And no one catches him if he gets one step ahead of you. It's over.
That was one
right?
reconstructed knee ago.
This was in 2025. He was like quite literally registering more 20 mile an hour than anyone else. Like, I think if it was so easy to be so fast, anyone else would do it.
No, I'm just saying, look, Mike McDaniel likes good players, and that could be a problem for Amari and Hampton.
That is very true. Now we're talking. That's how you should have framed it the whole time. I should have framed it the whole time.
I should have done that. Yeah.
Denny, you should have framed it as a hater. You weren't framing it as a hater. If you had just framed it as a hater move, it would have landed with Pat. I do agree with Pat, though, that, I mean, Denny said he had 179 carries in his final season in college. I think that was his weight coming into the NFL. Like,
dude, this guy's a gadget player. Like, this is like Tavon Austin's like, dude, we're going to do the sickest stuff ever with this guy. Like,
I think he tops out at 10 touches. We'd be very happy to get 10 touches, but also, like, I know it's just yards per carry, but last year, after the truly fully reconstructed knee, he shredded his knee. Last year, he averaged 5.8 yards per carry, and that was not even in the same zip code as what he did as a rookie, which is 8.4, like a number that even on 47 attempts will be hard for us to ever see repeated. Same stuff with his like career yards per catch, pushing toward 10. I agree that like this is definitely a fun, exciting backup who I think landed in the perfect spot for a fun, exciting backup with Mike McDaniel. That's what he is.
I'll just say this isn't meant to reflect on Kyle, because you'll get the implication immediately. But Keaton Mitchell is smaller than both Denny and I. That's a huge problem.
Oh, dude. So I'm going to the gym more. If he holds his weight from college, which I don't think he did, if he holds his weight from college, I am pounds from Keaton Mitchell.
Kyle's doing the thing where he's getting older and he's getting strong. Like the next time I come up and try to hug Kyle, like, oh my God, you're real strong.
No, you would.
I might hurt you. Yeah.
Listen, are you looking at our podcast co-host here? Kyle's shoulders get bigger every day.
I know they do get bigger every week.
Yeah, he's a big guy now.
They're getting bigger. He's bigger than Keaton Mitchell. I'm sure that's a really good thing. I didn't want to talk about Keaton Mitchell. Producer Adam thought we didn't really need to talk about Isiah Pacheco, but do we? David Montgomery. What team is David Montgomery on, by the way?
Texans.
On the Texans. He's gone from the Lions. They needed a new caddy for Jahmyr Gibbs. But Kyle, is that the thing? Is Isiah Pacheco just a pure caddy, a pure breather back? Is the 1A, 1B thing officially dead in Detroit? I think we can assume that it is. Is it any more complicated than that?
When they initially signed him, I thought maybe there was some chance that he would hold on to called 80% of the David Montgomery role, which David Montgomery, I think, fell below 10 carries per game last year. So the Montgomery role itself was shrinking year over year, as it should have. Like, keep giving Jahmyr Gibbs more touches until we find out how many he can or can't handle. Haven't reached that yet. We should keep trying to get him more touches. But given that I think the contract is worth $1.8 million, maybe with some more incentives, like marginally above the veteran minimum 1 year, that to me probably tells me most of what we need to know. He's probably a good value at $1.8 million. He's a good RB2, a good like grinding out hard yards to earn kind of guy because he's super physical as a runner. But the contract and his poor play over the past few years tell me that I don't even think he's much in contention in like 20th round best ball. I mean, he could be a somewhat clear handcuff, but it's not like he's a pass catcher, right? And so much of what we love about Jahmyr Gibbs is that if he doesn't get a single carry in a game, he can still be an RB1. It's not like Pacheco can really backfill that type of role. So I don't know. I'm not awfully excited outside of like deep best ball, dynasty throw-in type of stuff.
Well, also Isiah Pacheco, Denny, is the kind of guy where like the good news is he might finally get healthy. The bad news is he's always been hurt the past 2 years, and his running style. Talk about injury prone. I think Isiah Pacheco, you could watch this guy like, yeah, this guy's going to get hurt constantly because he runs with such violence. Anything to add to what Kyle said? Yeah, no.
I barely see him as like a stash, guy in case Gibbs goes down. I
Was
think
Gibbs just like the runaway 1-1? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Bijan lost his backup too. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Also true. Bijan also lost the guy the OC who was like, let's make him our wide receiver too. Not saying he won't still function.
I think every OC will follow along with that plan.
I hope so. But especially the way they actually just split him out and let him run wide receiver routes. I could see them using him in less efficient, but still as much volume kind of ways as a pass catcher. Because they actually did, to their credit, get pretty creative with him last year.
Is anyone going to be trying? I think there's not going to be much contrary thinking at number one this year. I think it's going to be running backs. Like no more Jamar Chase. No, we tried the yuppie way, but that's no more. That's a Connor O'Malley quote for those out there listening. But no more wide receivers, and we're back to blue collar. Running backs.
I think Jamar Chase is a viable.
Fantasy is meant to be played. No, he's not. He's not. Don't say it.
No. Okay.
How many different times is Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson? How many more times are we going to allow them to ruin fantasy seasons? All right.
I will say that the elite wide receivers become even more valuable now that no one throws the ball anymore.
That's a really good point. Sounds like a fascinating macro discussion. I'm sure we'll have all off season, but when we come right back after this, there'll be more micro discussions. The Golden State Warriors await Steph Curry's return as they travel east to face Jalen Brunson and the Knicks on Sunday evening. Coverage of the matchup begins at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock. Steph's out 5 more games, apparently. Should have guessed it. Should have guessed it, but still, please watch still. They still got Clay, right?
Please.
They actually do have some interesting players. Denny and I have attended a Dubs game in person this year.
I did not attend.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You didn't go.
I didn't go. I decided, I stayed home and I grinded tape.
We were all very, very upset that you didn't go, by the way.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
Jay was there. Drew was there. Damian was there. Producer Pete was there.
Yeah.
You missed quite a fun night. We actually were kind of like, man, what's Denny's problem?
You guys put the full court press on me within about an hour of game time.
That is actually not a joke.
I almost folded.
There was some maybe literal strong arming. Anyways, watch the Warriors Sunday night on NBC. Go see here real quick. Isaiah Likely, finally time to talk about my favorite player, Denny. Izzy, a tight end one with Jackson Dart. It never went really according to plan in Baltimore. I think he caught more than 40 passes one time. Last year, as you know, I was so hung up on the preseason John Harbaugh quote. I want Isaiah Likely to be an all-pro.
Yeah.
You only say about a player that you really believe in. Clearly, the feeling is still there since he's signed him to New York Giants. I can't read that much into it since that seems to be his only qualification for now playing for the New York Giants. Did you formerly play for the Baltimore Ravens or maybe the University of Michigan or the Los Angeles Chargers? Are you proven? But it doesn't matter. He's on the Giants now. Wan'Dale Robinson is gone. Theo Johnson is still there. Can Isaiah Likely just be fantasy relevant? Well, we actually want to roster him, let's say, after last year's debacle.
I think he was really banged up last year. And I tend to say that John Harbaugh's feelings on his potential matter more than his disappointing 2025. If we can get this guy up to like 75% of the routes, maybe that's a little much, but 70%, I think he could be really interesting behind, perhaps with Wandell gone, perhaps behind only Malik Neighbors as far as pecking order goes. That would be pretty cool. He's a big slot, right? He's a guy who can freelance really well. You saw Lamar Jackson really benefit from that when Likely was healthy 2 years ago. Theo Johnson is maybe an impediment. Jackson Dart seems to really like him, especially in the red zone, and that makes sense because Theo Johnson is the biggest man alive, and I get that.
Also one of the best athletes at his position. He's one of the many Penn State guys who just pencil him in for a 9.9 RAS.
But it's also a new coaching staff and
and so
got their guy.
Yeah, the Ravens were top 3 in 2 tight end usage last season. That's stayed pretty consistent over recent years with Likely and Andrews. If they do that again, I could see Likely being really interesting, and then Theo Johnson being somewhat interesting, although touchdown reliant there.
You know what's interesting? I just looking at Pro Football Reference right now. Theo Johnson has been in the league half as long as Isiah Likely, and yet they are the same age. So that's a little interesting perception-wise.
And Likely coming into the league had a really interesting production profile.
He was really good in college. He was a small school guy, I believe Coastal Carolina, but he was putting up numbers there.
Guy's just been knocking on the door. He's caught at least 27 balls all 4 seasons. Last year was actually a career low, 27 receptions. Like Denny said, that had to be because about the injury. But Kyle, real quick, at the end of the season, will Isiah Likely be top 12 in tight end fantasy points? The answer is almost certainly no, I guess. Do you agree?
Yeah, sure. If you just make me pick over under tight end 12.5, I'll take over in that he finishes outside the top 12. But I generally agree with your sentiment that he genuinely has been knocking on the door for years. He had yards per route runs of 1.5 and 1.6 in 2023 and 2024. Not elite numbers for a tight end, but also pretty good for a guy who's operating as a backup. The team is not scheming up stuff for him every single week. Really impressive yak numbers in those 2 seasons as well. And to both your guys' point, I don't want to write off last year, 2025, entirely, but I think it's very safe to assume that some of the fall off, I'm going to say probably a lot, but just call it some of the fall off, was based on the injury that I believe cost him the first 2 or 3 weeks start the year, and he just never looked like himself. He also didn't get to play the entire season with Lamar Jackson. Jackson, even when he was out there, didn't look like Lamar Jackson. There are a lot of very reasonable excuses for a player who'd been ascending throughout his time in the NFL. And now his coach, which, like you said, don't read too much into John Harbaugh, giving him a big contract. He does that. The Harbaughs do that with every former Charger. I wonder if there's anyone left from the San Francisco Harbaugh days. Because if they are, they're almost certainly still on a Harbaugh team.
Kyle Juszczyk, maybe. No, Kyle Juszczyk was on the Ravens. That's right, before he ended up where Kyle Shanahan's 49ers. But
yeah, but they do, I think they brought in Patrick Ricard to this team as well. So he's not the only one, but they gave him a lot of money. I will say at least the money they gave him indicates that other teams around the NFL were also interested in Isiah Likely, which even if he ends up back with a Harbaugh, is still a really good sign. So top 12, maybe not the most probable outcome, but I could also see him smashing the top 12 where he finally gets a spot to be his team's true tight end 1. Jackson Dart makes a step in year 2, and not only his team's true tight end 1, he could just be the wide receiver 2 there. So I like the ceiling, even if most likely isn't the most exciting year coming up.
Isiah Likely stuck in the worst ever medieval fairy tale where he's forever cursed to remain the tight end 17. And this is the weirdest curse anyone's ever put on anybody. But you will be
a very specific curse.
Yeah, the tight end 17 for as long as you were playing NFL football. We've been promising our listeners for days that we would talk about Rashid Shaheed, maybe Jalen Naylor, but we're going to run out of time on that. We talked about my guy, Isiah Likely. I used to think Chig Okonkwo was Denny's guy, but if I remember correctly, didn't Denny betray Chig on the
he did an all-time Toy Story meme where he says, "I'm done playing with this boy," and he just throws him out.
Oh.
And I picked up Gunnar Helm instead.
Yeah. Wow. So Chig down horrific there. But Denny, Ben Sinnott, the H-back, down even more horrific in Washington, because I think Best Ball Drafters, this is not a joke. We're talking about Ben again, early this offseason. There's no way they're just going to instantly sign someone way better after Zach Ertz departed. Ertz is gone, Denny. Your guy Chig is in Washington. pretty undermanned wide receiver depth chart for the Commanders. They need more help. Maybe they'll get it in the draft, but looks like a spot where Okonkwo could really command some targets. How do you feel about Chig Okonkwo in your neck of the woods in the DMV?
I don't feel terrible about my former guy, Chig. Zach Ertz last year had an 18.6% target share. There are targets out there for him if Jaden Daniels sees fit, does the right thing, and checks down to Okonkwo now and again. I really don't think he has any upside in this offense. But, look, I'm going to end up talking about him as a streamer, as a waiver wire guy. That's what he is. You want to talk about a curse? That's the curse for Okonkwo.
Well, Denny, who scores more fantasy points in 2026, Isiah Likely or Chig Okonkwo?
Wow, I hope it's likely.
Wow, what happened? What happened here? What happened? What happened? I thought he was like truly your guy.
Well, I looked further into it, and he's not good.
He pulled up a second tab in some spreadsheet. Not my guy. Not my guy.
Second tab. You never do
Second
that.
tab.
One tab's always enough. But when we're doing these blurbs, man, by the way, people at home would be stunned.
I know.
Like it's like a third string linebacker. You have to open 4 tabs.
At least.
And I'm sure this is where someone arrives. Why don't you just use AI or something? Because first off, never. Secondly, it wouldn't even work. You got to open Over the Cap, Pro Football Reference, ESPN Game Log, sometimes Wikipedia.
So we want the blur to be accurate. So we would not use AI.
That is true. But by the way, not a bit. No AI ever allowed, and until some boss you guys gotta use AI. But I don't think that's ever gonna happen. What was I talking about? Chig.
Yeah, okay. It sounds like you really want to draft him.
No, man, I don't know. I'm just stunned you don't.
He's more acting as a therapist for you than he is really trying to draft.
Denny's been overtaken, but this is AI. Denny doesn't want Chig Okonkwo, apparently.
No, Gunnar Helm is my new guy.
Even though he's been betrayed, because who did they sign? They signed a tight end.
They signed Daniel Bellinger because Dable's bringing all the guys who got him fired.
No, I'm so Daniel Bellinger. And
will Chig Okonkwo come up in best ball, Kyle? I'm assuming he'll at least come up.
Yeah, to Denny's point, Zach Ertz, all due credit to Zach Ertz. He's been a catch and fall down guy. Adds very little for a decade. Probably more like 5 or 6 years, but genuinely for half a decade. And yet they still, to Denny's point, gave him a 19% target share. I think that was top 10 among all tight ends. Imagine if a player who could move forward after the catch saw that 19% target share. I do actually genuinely think that Ertz getting 19% targets is earned. I'm not just saying they just fed it to him, because he gets open. He knows how to find soft spots in a defense, even if he's not churning out yak. So you probably don't expect a 19% target share for a guy like Chig coming into this offense. But if he can push up towards that and produce more yards with every target thrown his way, I think we'd be talking about him like a streamer. He's sitting on that top 15. Once we get buys, we're talking about him as last week he had 7 targets. He good yak guy. We might want him. And I think Pat made this point. They have no one. It's just Terry McLaurin, who's largely a downfield threat. Deebo Samuel is now, I think his contract officially voided. He's now a free agent. Deebo was brought in to be the big yak guy. And based on the offseason pictures, he was big guy. So maybe Chig fills a small portion of the kind of role they wanted for Deebo. Just a guy that's easy underneath targets and produces yards after the catch. I don't think we're talking about him as more as your third tight end to kind of filler at the end of your draft. But could he crack the top 20 rounds of ADP? I almost certainly think he will, in the way that guys like Juwan Johnson in previous years had, Dalton Schultz, where they're not fun picks, but you got to pencil in targets for someone, and he's their starting tight end.
We're probably underselling it. He's had at least 50 catches each of the past 3 years. He's never reached 60, but pretty him and Isiah Likely are both classic archetypes of, for whatever reason, there can be really talented tight ends who never fully break out during their rookie contract. And then the tight end is a position where just a lot of times you break out with your second team. And this Commander skill core is just wretched.
It's bad.
Truly, truly wretched. We're to Kyle's point, it might not be fun, but you could have wow, didn't realize Chig Okonkwo caught 78 passes this year. And
sure. Zach Ertz had 5.5 catches a game, or 5.5 targets last year per game. If you get Okonkwo to 5 or 6 targets, that could be fun for fantasy as a scammy type thing.
The game has changed. Chig Okonkwo, back in Denny's heart. Sounds like at the very end of the show.
My guy Chig.
This is the end of the show. At some point, we'll talk about Rashid Shaheed. We'll talk about Jalen Naylor. At some point, and that point being Friday, Denny and Kyle are going to grade free agency so far, separate articles in the NFC and the AFC. I'm just kind of breaking down the first week of a typically hectic free agency. We'll talk about some similar stuff next week. We'll, of course, talk about new signings. Hopefully Kyler Murray has a team by the next time we talk to you, maybe even Kirk Cousins, maybe some even the other players who are still out there that I can't remember. We'll talk about it next week, though. We really thank you for listening. And, yeah, this is the worst ever outro to the show. I'll talk to you on Tuesday.